Yeah, all right. Let's get started here. Before we jump in, I have to make sure that you don't believe a word I say. But I never thought that I would say this, especially in stage. But sometimes I love pressure. Seriously, it leads you to directions that you wouldn't go otherwise. Like building, like building a scalable AI application with a platform that had just released its first preview version. What could possibly go wrong, right? So let me share our year-long experience with Databricks Apps, all the good and all the lessons learned. I'm going to share a journey through a specific application, but only metaphorically, using an AI-assisted soccer recruitment tool as an example. I'm from Europe, and we love soccer there. But the real reason I'm doing this is that the data we worked with is so secure and confidential that I'd prefer to stay on stage rather than escorted off in handcuffs or something. So, but let's get serious here. When I got into the project, our client, let's call him John for now, approached us with the following request. I need you to build an AI application that is a full stack application, so it's not a Gradeo, not a Streamlit or whatsoever, because we need to provide a custom UI to the soccer scouts in order to be completely aligned with their workflow, with their daily routine. It should have features like AI chat, streaming chat, and AI reports. It should have a dashboard where they can follow the recruitment process. And what was interesting, it had to be production ready. So we had to have like authentication and all the other stuff required. And we had like about 30 days. So we were like, oh wow, how should we do this? And like in many teams, we approached the whole problem with a classic move. We went for a well-known cloud provider and said, let's just use AWS. It's tried and tested, well-known, and it's like in one of the industry standards for more than a decade, right? So, oh, by the way, I'm maybe a tiny little bit too much into drawing these kind of architecture diagrams, and it's meant to be a lightning talk, so please feel free to take pictures because I have to be quick and I will change the slides quickly. So, and back to the topic. So we had like a couple of obstacles. First of all, we had to use multiple ecosystem introducing AWS because our data and also the AI part was already ready in Databricks. So it meant enterprise IT, it meant a lot of approvals, and also due to the nature of this sensitive data, it wasn't that trivial how do we solve the authorization and also the security part of this data synchronization. So, and if you notice this small arrow in the bottom right corner, that was also important because either the software engineers had to somehow understand both platforms, or the data AI engineers had to provide those interfaces for the software engineers. So just then, a new mail popped up in my inbox. It was like a year ago, and it was about something interesting and promised something interesting. A platform called Lakehouse Apps, which provides serverless hosting, built-in authentication, security, data governance. Of course, it's deeply integrated into Databricks. So it's close to the Unity catalog. It's close to the AI gateways. And do you know what Lakehouse Apps is? It's like Databricks Apps. It was its previous internal name, so I don't want to confuse anyone. And I was like, oh wow, this is exactly what we need, but it's not in GA, right? It's just the first preview. It's just in PDF slides. And can we have, for example, a time machine to go move forward a year and have it already for us? And yeah, I have to admit it seemed like it seemed like a bit of a gamble, but we bet on this thing from day one, from the preview status. And I'm not saying that AWS wouldn't have worked, but it was clear that with this architecture, we can cut development time by, we did the math, and it looked like we can spare like at least 2 weeks. And also to tell you the truth, that we developers, if we see something new, something shiny, we want to try it out. It's like birthday presents for us, and that was also motivation. But we knew that this kind of stuff comes with the new tool drama. So we prepared for the unstable deployments. We prepared for random crashes and without any proper traces and so on. And yet, to our amazement, Databricks Apps not only saved us from these late night headaches, but due to these things, it provided all the boilerplate stuff which we didn't have to implement. We were even able to add some extra features on top of the scope we already expected. But was everything nice and smooth? Of course not. First of all, we struggled with the database. Back then, OLTP wasn't available within Databricks. So we used a delta table behind an application like a transactional database. And if you are in IT, it's like the first thing you learn, that this is the pattern you should definitely avoid. So we had a lot of troubles with it. Connectivity issues, latency issues, anything you can imagine. I remember our first demo, it got delayed, so I had to run home and sit in the car. The computer was next to me, and I just watched the logs. If anything goes wrong, I can restart the application, so it wasn't that safe. You should definitely avoid that pattern. And also the other thing was scaling, which is interesting, because built-in scaling is still not available. But we learned how to prepare our architecture properly so that Databricks is powerful in terms of heavy compute stuff and clusters in the architecture below the application layer. And if you do it properly and you have a thin application, it's easy to scale with the services they provide underneath. For instance, someone pushed an ML model into the backend code, and you can expect what happened. And I have no doubts that while Lambda is making a so good revenue by these bad scaling patterns. So scaling is good if you do it properly. This is the data architecture we used when OLTP, or how I should have renamed today to Lakebase, but we just sync the business data from Delta tables through a service called sync tables. It's very powerful, low latency, high concurrency. So we were able to serve the whole data through this OLTP, which can handle like thousands of request cycles, query cycles, and thousands of open connections at the same time. So it really benefits our scaling strategy. And of course, if we want to save data in the delta tables or vector search index, I mean the embeddings for the vector search, then we can use background services or pipelines for that. One of the most remarkable highlights for me throughout the whole process was the CI/CD that Databricks provided for applications. If you ever worked with AWS or Google GCP or Azure, compared to them, it's really easy to set up a new application from scratch. You really just set up your code. If you want, you can set up an IAC definition so that you have the infrastructure, upload it, deploy it, and voila, you have an up and running application. And if you integrate it into GitHub Actions, you can have a production-ready CI/CD pipeline as well. Yeah. Well, remember John? Little did we know that his ambitions were far greater than that. So he wanted us to build the next step, a complete AI portal where everything is self-served. The soccer scouts don't need to reach out to any other platform, AI platform. They can have their work done in just one specific ecosystem, with uploading the information they want through documents and by having all the prompts they need and everything. And we were like, again, Databricks Apps was ideal for this MVP stuff, but let's be honest again, at this scale, it's time to migrate. So we designed a beautiful architecture again, and it had like a lot of boxes and arrows, and it looked nice. But we told our story again to Databricks, and they were just like, why don't we try the same, but completely within Databricks? And so we designed an architecture that scales completely in Databricks. And it seemed so promising, though behind the curtains, I spent a couple of nights to do the migration in the background, not telling anyone that I'm a little bit afraid. But that said, it highlighted one other important advantage to me, that Databricks SDK is so powerful that we can have either the freedom either to stay on the platform or to move. But in order to make the best decision here, we carefully listed the advantages and the disadvantages of staying in Databricks Apps or moving towards. And the most important benefit is that automatic scaling and and resource sharing, and also the coordination between the software engineers and the AI engineers are the best if we are in the same platform. There is a lot of benefit from that. And from the drawbacks, what I can mention that up until now, Databricks Apps is mostly stand out if you use it for an enterprise type of application. But I haven't answered one important question yet, whether or how can we scale with Databricks, with a Databricks-only architecture if Databricks Apps doesn't provide any scaling options yet. It's about to come. But still, we had several options. And what you can see in the red box, I prepared a task that involved our most compute-heavy stuff, the most business-critical part, which included like several AI queries, read and writes to the OLTP, to delta tables, vector search index. And so I'm the type of person who believes it when I see it. So I tested out all the options we had. First of all, we had the single app instance, which was able to, for this particular job or task, was able to handle like 70 to 100 QPS for this one. And since Databricks introduced cross-application authentication, we were able to manually scale these tasks by putting and stacking together and multiplying the performance like this. But I have to admit, it's not automatic. It's not what we usually do. So we went over and we realized that there's a service called serving endpoints. And although it's built for ML flow, we can actually use it for applications as well. And it scales. It scales like a Lambda function with very low latency. And so actually that's the exact service we used for scaling. And I also have to mention the jobs, because they have a huge latency, like 10 to 15 seconds, though you can install any packages, run it on any cluster, and it can do the heavy-duty stuff for you, like document conversion, image manipulation, and whatsoever. Yeah. Okay, but there was the business perspective in the end that it made me think that whether John made the right call building instead of buying. Like, we knew most of these features are available somewhere, but there were like 3 important aspects I want to highlight. First of all, we don't have to make compromises by building our own stuff. So we don't have to simplify the data. We don't have to transform it just for the sake of the product we want to use. The other one is the UX. So that meant the product is exactly built for soccer scouts and not the other way around. So they don't need to, their time is very valuable, so they don't have to adapt the workflow of a new software. And the third thing that your agents, your models, your prompts, actually this is your IP, so you should keep it safe within your environment. If you're a developer, I prepared some, yesterday I vibe coded with the O3 Pro some code samples there. I'm not sure it's working. For the first 10 visitors, there's a free API key there. Just joking. Thank you very much. I was Domonkos, head of the application development at Hiflylabs. We have a booth there. It's 8:22, so I guess I spent the afternoon there. I would be more than happy to talk about all the, or I'm really interested about the stuff you are building, if you can come over. And thank you very much. We really appreciate if you can complete our service. So thank you.